Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call the June 18th meeting of the Common Council to order. I will ask our clerk to call the roll to determine a quorum.
Alderperson Sengstock.
Here.
Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Barsak.
Excused.
Chaplesky.
Here.
Lysick.
Here.
May.
Here.
Probst.
Here. Oh, sorry.
Probst is also excused.
Franke. Here. Rote.
Here. Apologize.
8 present, 2 excused.
We have a quorum. Alderman Sengstock will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have one item up for public hearing this evening. I'll ask the clerk to read item number 1.
A hearing on the resolution authorizing the Director of Development to negotiate the sale of public lands located in the city of West Dallas at 9 Star South 90th Street to Russell Lugo, doing business as Clear Choice Homes.
Mr. Stiebel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this public hearing is to sell public land, which requires a public hearing. It was to be done not on a sealed bid. And the property here off 90th Street is a vacant lot used for stormwater storm sewer system. It's got a huge pipe that runs right through the parcel. It's about a 54 by 84 inch storm sewer, so it's huge. So what we will do is we will keep a storm sewer easement, and so the lot will be virtually unbuildable. We'll keep the entire lot as part of our easement area. The purpose for this is to, right now the city is required to maintain that property, and if it's sold then it becomes privately owned. Because of the limitations to the property, its unusability, it's going to have a value of about 10% of what a normal lot would. And so there'll be, at least we'll get some nominal taxes off the property. This is a picture of the vacant lot. The Plan Commission will be reviewing this in June. And so this public hearing will be subject to Plan Commission approval. I do want to mention that what we wanted to do is ultimately get rid of much public land as we own and get it into private hands to increase the quality of the neighborhood. If this policy is adopted, another property owner across the street is also interested in acquiring that. On this particular property, we also contacted both property owners to ensure that if either of them wanted part of it, we would split the lot, but the property owner to the north did not want any. So we have recommended approval. If you have additional questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there any questions or comments from the council on this item? Okay, seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the audience on this item? Okay, seeing none, we will close our public hearings and we will move on to item E on our agendas, which is citizen participation. This is an opportunity for residents to address the council on any matters of interest to them. We ask that you state your name and address for the record, and we ask that you try to keep your comments to approximately 5 minutes. Start out with Mr. Brown.
I think everybody knows why I'm here tonight. I think the mayor knows why I'm here too. We had comments to Channel 4. I think everybody's aware that there was a trial scheduled. We all know about this ridiculous thing going on here in West Dallas where somebody has the most beautiful lawn, keeps their property up the most, and they get charged with harboring rats there. You know, something as ridiculous as that. But that ain't why I'm here. I like Vince Vitale as a person, but I think tonight he has some explaining to do, and if he doesn't, we're going to see what we can do legally about you. Here's the thing. We paid him to go to this trial. He got $40 from 2 different people to appear. I served the summons on him. He got that, so he got $80 to appear for a trial. Now, the problem is We have this great city attorney that messes everything up. She's been doing it for some time, Jana Murden. She told, and I was in the judge's chamber, and she said, we're not going to have Mr. Vitale as a witness because he's only going to testify about the new ordinance. We said, no, he ain't. We want him to testify about the old one, why you can charge someone with having rat harborage, and there don't have to be any rats present. By the way, the testimony did go on. Only someone seen in 15 years one rat that was 3 houses away from where this property is. But Mr. Vitale, I know you don't answer questions. What did you do with the $80 that we paid you to go to court? What do you think? You can ignore legal things and stump your noses at the taxpayers who pay you to go to trial? I want an answer from you. Answer it.
Mr. Brown, you know that you cannot respond to this in possible violation of open meetings laws.
It might be a violation, but I'll tell you what, anybody listening to this, whether on a TV or what, when you subpoena city officials to go to court and they snub your noses at you, they take the $80 and they don't show up and they don't explain nothing. We have a moron for a city attorney, I hate to use that term, but I can't think of any better phrase, that tells them not to come to court. And that's fine with him. He listens to her. Why do you listen to her? Who do you think you are and who does she think she is to snub their noses at legal proceedings in Milwaukee Circuit Court in front of Judge Seifert last week? Well, I can't believe this going on, and I know, Mr. Mayor, you said on the Channel 4 you wonder what's going on. Well, there's a lot going on behind the scenes here. That's part of it. It's worse yet. I could go on and on with some of the nonsense that's going on. But I think, like you say, don't bring it up there in the Common Council that an alderman takes money and refuses to make an appearance. $80. I see him smiling, but I don't know what his answer is. The only thing I can think of, because I sat there and Jana Murden said he's not going to appear here in court. She snubbed their noses at the law. What kind of West Ellis government do we have here? People get tickets, they appear in court, they get threatened with arrest. But what do the aldermen do? They stick their finger in somebody's face and say, "Drop dead, I'm not going to court." Shame on you. And beside, now this case is going to be going on and on. Everybody knows you already face a $200,000 lawsuit, which will be proceeding in court. You guys, I know, Mayor, you said, what goes on with this? Well, we're dealing with people that don't think they have to follow the law. They can prosecute residents of West Ellis for not obeying municipal court laws. The aldermen themselves disobey municipal court laws.
Mr. Brown, you have 1 minute remaining.
I know. I'd like to see what happens on this. I know what I'm going to do about it. I will be down to see the district attorney. I'll be down to see the attorney general. And we're going to find out why aldermen seem to think they're more higher and mighty than citizens who pay taxes here. I don't know. You better come up with some good reason and don't tell me, "She told me not to come." Janet Murden, the city attorney, told me not to come. That ain't going to fly. Ain't you man enough to know what you're doing when you get paid $80 to appear in court? You know what you do? You appear there or you come up with a good excuse. That's what you do.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else who wishes to address the council under citizen participation this evening?
Hi. My name is Brianna Olson, and I live in the 2200 block of 75th Street. I've lived there for 8 years. I've been a member of the West Allis community for over 10 years. I have 2 small children, one of whom, right there with his hand up, he goes to Jefferson Elementary School. We love the community. We have such wonderful neighbors. We enjoy each other. We help each other. We're there for one another. And so I'm here today. And the reason that I'm here is because there is a Pawn America that opened up right down the street from my home. Since its opening in February, I have noticed a lot of activity in our neighborhood that I find concerning, to say the least. One example, and this is the best example I can think of, is occurred actually yesterday. I went to speak to my neighbor, Rose, who lives on the corner of 75th and Lincoln. And Rose and I were talking, and she's actually going to let her house go into foreclosure. And the reason being is not because she lost her job, not because she can't afford it, but because she's underwater in her mortgage, like a lot of us are in West Dallas. But she doesn't feel welcome because all day long and all night long, people are parking in front of her home, being loud, obnoxious. She's afraid of these people because of the way they carry themselves and their appearance. As we were talking, a man was standing by her car. She had to yell at him to get away from her car. So things have gotten out of hand in my neighborhood, and this is not the way it used to be. And when I was talking to her, she let me know that Pawn America is now going to propose to you, if they haven't already, a parking lot. They want to tear down the dentist building on the corner there and the apartment complex that holds a really cute salon that I think is a great contribution to our community. And they want to tear down where someone works, where someone lives, to build a parking lot so that their patrons can go in there for 15 minutes and pawn off potentially stolen goods. An additional problem that I've noticed is that there are people standing out in front of the business before the business is open. And I've been notified that there has been a fight. There's been numerous issues in front of this. I don't think that this business is the way to go for our community. I really think that we have a lot of potential, and I realize that you're all dealing with a down economy, with businesses that don't want to come into West Dallas for whatever reason. But allowing this business to expand is the wrong thing to do. It is not good for our community. So while it's here, and while I'm upset that it's here, and while I'm upset that my children have to deal with this, and I have to raise them amidst this, I think that we can fix this. And I think the way that we can fix this together as representatives of the community and as the community is if we come together and say, look, you cannot expand. You cannot build your parking lot. This should have been part of your building business plan. And we're not going to take away where people live and work to put a parking lot in its place. And we're going to respect the neighbors, and we're going to make sure that this type of behavior and these types of hooligans aren't coming into our community and destroying the precious sense of community that we have. So I really appreciate your time, and should this issue come up for a zoning vote, I would appreciate you to say no, to stand up for your constituents and represent the people, because the people of the community do not want this business and want to see our community flourish. So again, thank you so much for your time, and if there's anything I can do to help bring the community with the community government, I'm glad to do it. And I know that, Mayor, you have my contact information, as do you. So, again, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Anybody else for citizen participation?
My name is Joe Honicke, reside at 9410 West Maple Court. Got a few things. One, 92 Street Commons. I'm opposed to it. I think it's not the right place to put this apartment. I believe the builder gave us a line that, oh, it's going to appeal to the up-and-coming execs, and that all the baby boomers are now selling their houses and they're going to move there. I don't believe I think it's a bunch of bull. Number two, at the neighborhood meeting, I was asking questions of the builder, and I wanted to know if it was just him buying this and building. And he said, no, you had a partner. But he would not reveal the partner's name. He says, I don't want to let anybody know who it is. All I can tell you is that they're in real estate. Well, to me, that smells, period. Something isn't right. Why won't he reveal who his partners is? This is a public hearing, a neighborhood meeting. I met the man once before out in the hallway, and he said, oh, I'll be glad to sit down with the neighbors and talk to them and answer any questions they may have. Well, when I asked him, he wouldn't answer because he just said, in due time. I said, well, the time is now. Now, I understand that, yes, this looks good for the city and the financial end for taxes and revenue, and I understand that. However, why isn't this man on the up and up and revealing the facts? The other question I had that he wouldn't answer, I says, you're going into this project. I asked him, where are your break-even point? What's your break-even point? 25 units constantly running? 30? 28? 32? I don't know. I said, what do you mean you don't know? You're going into this project and you have no idea what you want to spend or what you're planning to spend? I believe on the documents I saw it's something about a $3.3 million project. Where's your break-even point? I don't know. I don't like those answers. If you're coming in here, let's lay it out here so we hear it. The other issue is there was a lady that wrote in the West Dallas Now, and there was a couple quotes in there by my neighbor saying we agreed and we thought this was good and this was presented to us. Well, I wasn't part of we. I wasn't part of us. She didn't even, to my knowledge, contact our alderman, Michael May, who did a fine job of setting the meeting up to allow us to ask questions. If she even contacted him and asked for any quotes from him, I don't believe I saw anything in the paper that was read to me. So much for that. Next issue, the bus service. I realize that Milwaukee County runs it. However, they cut out a main line right out of West Dallas, the 18 route. They ran out 92nd Street to Lincoln to National to 108th and Cleveland and went downtown. Today, I traveled to go out to the shopping center there on National Avenue to the Pig to take care of some business. I had to wait for a 67 bus. I got it. Got down to 92nd and Lincoln. I had 2 minutes to make a connection. The connection went by, the 54 went on its bout and missed it. Had to wait for another bus. Next one that came by was a Lincoln Avenue bus. So I took that to 102nd Street, crossed over Lincoln, walked all down the 102nd to get over to National to get to the Pig. Coming back, the bus was supposed to leave at 12:25. I was at the bus stop at 102nd at 12:20. The bus shows up at 12:30. Consequently, I missed the connection at 92nd and Lincoln for the 67 to go back home. So I ended up walking instead of waiting 40 minutes for the next bus.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you. So anyway, there's this issue of the bus. I don't know whether you, as the mayor, the councilman, can talk to them and get them to reinstate the 18 route that goes out 92nd Street or do something, because you have to walk to Greenfield, get a bus, go to 68th and Orchard to get a bus to get to downtown. It's just ridiculous. And I would think if we're trying to bring in more people to the city, you want all these apartments filled and everything else, you need better bus service. So I encourage you as representatives of the people of West Dallas to try to get some additional bus line back in. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Alderman.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the council under citizen participation this evening?
Yes, my name is William McCarver. I'm the one that supposedly was convicted, but according to due process, it's not over with yet, so I'm not going to leave it rest right there because that would be premature. As Mr. Brown stated earlier you were sent money to show up, you didn't show up. Is that a practice of yours, taking money for something that you didn't do and then keeping it? I mean, when I was a little child, I was taught that's stealing. If you take money for something that you didn't work for or whatever, that's stealing. I don't know what you call it, but just curious. You don't have to answer because I know it's not part of the quorum, whatever, but if I ever see you on the street or something, you just tell me out loud, you needed the money, and if I can borrow you some more if, you're really hurting or whatever. And as far as like the mayor going on TV claiming that there was mediation and all, no, that's all bull, and you know it. There's no documentation of that whatsoever. The city would have used that as evidence had that been the case. There was none. What she called mediation was she tricked Bonnie Gordon into a private conversation that happened outside of my ear, which is illegal, and she asked her for a chamber conference, which I found out in the courtroom. And then when we got back there, it was all about a possible mediation with UW. What happened was she wanted to know what degree of guilt I wanted to apply for. That's not mediation. I didn't pay for a jury trial so I could tell her what degree of guilt I wanted to be. And at the hearing, there was absolutely no evidence whatsoever. Matter of fact, Miss Stuhler, Stoughton, all of them said, his yard is impeccable. You guys read the ordinance. You know what it reads. My yard that I live in. That's the only one I'm responsible for. The judge even had to, knock on the wood there and get Miss Merton to understand the language of plain, simple English, because she apparently didn't understand the ordinance either. He read it to her back and forth. I'll bring the transcripts into court. I'll have them in less than 2 weeks, and I'll read them to you. His words, verbatim. Now, why the jury didn't get those instructions, I don't know. That's the defendant doesn't instruct the jury final before they leave the room and go mediate over the matter. So those issues will all be taken up, as well as jurors lying and not performing their duties as they were claiming to at the beginning of the trial. All the various things, all the flaws, they will be looked at, and who knows where this case will end up. Probably the trash can, but as far as your conviction goes. But as far as any mediation, phone calls, or attempts, I called you over 6 times to try to get you involved. You didn't want no part of it. And when I called Mr. Weigel up, he knew about it for 6 months, and he already had an opinion. Never once came to my house. The lady across the street calls him because a dead squirrel's in the middle of the road. She wants it to lay there and get run over and stink up the neighborhood. I throw it off to the curb. It's all on video. So then the next thing I hear, I'm throwing dead birds and mice on the porch next door. Why? Because it's convenient with this story. You should have came around the next day, Mr. Weigel. You could have seen the big Cooper hawk sitting right on the railing of the fence. I got a video of him and pictures, still photos of him sitting right on the railing where you picked up the dead mice and the dead birds. I think that kind of correlates with their eating habits. They don't eat, the feathers and stuff like that. So what you cleaned up after a Cooper hawk, and you're trying to blame me for it? Besides, I need some raking in my backyard. If when you're done tonight, you ain't got anything to do, you can come over to my house, rake my yard like you did hers, Oh, you don't do that? I know there's a dead animal pickup. Why didn't she call them? Why you got to make this big deal out of nothing and smoke where there's no fire? You come into the neighborhood like I'm some kind of criminal, and I did nothing. I took a dead animal in the middle of the road and swept them off to the edge of the... It could have went either way. What's the difference?
You have 1 minute remaining.
Fine. And when I called you up and you knew about it 6 months in advance, would you even at that point get involved? Oh, no, you saw mounds. A rat weighs 3.5 pounds. I called Cornell University. They've only been studying them for about 30 years. They eat 1/3 of their body weight in food each day. They have to sustain, and only the strong rats survive. And the reason why West Allis has a problem with them is they come in too late, they kill off the strong ones, and then the batch that's left over, they get stronger than the ones they killed. And that's why the problem never gets solved. It's like some idiot trying to do an intelligent person's job. You got your health department guy down at the courthouse saying, well, rats will eat peanut shells if they're in a life and death situation.
That's time.
In my block, there's garbage being deposited in the alley 7 days a week in plastic garbage cans, and they're going to eat peanut shells, which will bind up their digestive tract first? That's not even logical. And you bought into all that hook, line, and sinker because of an attorney that lives on my block and knows you people in your workplace environment? So apparently, cronyism does live on.
All right, your time is up, Mr. McCarver.
People can buy their way in.
Does anybody else wish to address the council under citizen participation this evening? Okay, seeing none, we will close citizen participation. We will move on to item F on your agendas. Our standing committees will be meeting during recess. The room numbers are on page 1. Moving on to item G in the mayor's report. Got a few things this evening. One, a couple weeks ago, I had an excellent meeting and tour of Brookdale Senior Living, which is a company here in West Dallas. They are a leader in providing senior care through independent living, assisted living, and skilled nursing. And for some good news, they have added, since July of 2011, 56 jobs in our community. And by 2014, they are projecting another 130 jobs at their West Dallas location. So I just want to take a minute and thank them for growing here. And it's great to see another company committed to growing in the city. I also want to mention those of you who noticed on 76th and Beloit, there was kind of a less than desirable building, kitty corner from Rapina's, that has been there for some time. And this Friday will be the grand opening of the Wisconsin Dental Center, which is opening up, obviously. They will be, I think, bringing about 10 employees to that location, and they will be a full-service dental clinic. And lastly, the third Thursday art crawls have began their second year in downtown West Dallas. The bid is looking for a group of creative individuals to participate. And they're every third Thursday. That they started in May, and they go from 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock. They're also looking for artists of all kinds, painters, musicians, actors, jewelry artists, even pastry artists are welcome to take part. The Downtown West Dallas website has information on that, but feel free to stop down, walk around, and maybe eat dinner and look at all the art displays. That concludes the mayor's report this evening. Do we have any alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman May.
I want to quickly thank the folks, the Friends of La Follette Park, for putting off an awesome event last week in conjunction with the West Allis, West Milwaukee School District and the Community Alliance Against Drugs. They were showing Star Wars in the park, probably 200 plus participants. Very family-friendly event. They even had I believe it was called the Garrison. It was a group of people dressed up like Darth Vader, and all the stormtroopers showed up, and the kids had a great time with that. Another recent event, yesterday we had our first strategic planning meeting, the mayor, myself, and Alderperson Probst being there. The people on that committee are definitely fired up and ready to get moving on planning of the city in a more strategic fashion. Other announcements, City of West Dallas now has a Facebook page, so get on there, find it, City of West Dallas. Other things, La Follette Park is going to have a bike ride, and January 20th, I believe, is the date. You can check their website for more details.
January?
January. July. July 20th.
Not going.
Thank you. It's sort of an informal bike, but what they're doing is they're getting a group together, they're biking down to Palermo's, having pizza and biking back, but another great community event, and we hope people will get involved with that. And some good news for all those folks who've been putting up with the construction on Greenfield Avenue and all the detour traffic coming through their neighborhoods. I believe we are 1 month away from today that the Greenfield Avenue Bridge is supposed to be opened, and so that should reduce travel times for a lot of us considerably. So looking forward to that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman
Mayor
Reinke.
Devine? La Follette Park won't be the only place that has stars, because on July 3rd we'll have the veterans of our community be the stars at our breakfast. Hopefully we'll see a lot of our citizens at our breakfast. As I indicated to you, we are honoring our veterans. The breakfast is at 8 o'clock. The cost is $10 for a very, very elaborate breakfast, and it will be held in the Centennial Plaza right down here at City Hall. So please, if you're a veteran, register. You get it absolutely free. And if you're not a veteran, please come anyway, because the stars will be shining, and we're going to have entertainment and good food. So please come.
Thank you, Alderman Ranke. Are there any other reports from the alderpersons?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman
I know
Vitale.
he's not on the agenda, but with the advisor of our city attorney, I wonder, based on the statements made tonight during the citizen participation, I feel that's an insult to, and I would like to caution myself, but the question is, if the citizen wish to have those checks back, I could provide those checks back. Our assistant city
I would not
attorney-
go any further, Alderman, just because of the open meetings laws. And
I mean, that's why I don't want to go too far.
Right.
But that's inappropriate for West Allis citizen over the air. They could hear certain insults within our council here is not very appropriate. Those are very serious accusations that I heard tonight.
I agree.
You know, very, very unfair. We have a sound, clean government here. We go through the steps. Assistant city attorney, she never called me to says not to show up at the court date. So that's enough.
Alderman, that's enough, please.
That's it.
All right.
I'm done.
Thank you.
I'm done.
I'm
I
getting
agree.
advised by our attorney.
I agree. Totally agree with that.
Thank you. And if you're going to keep talking, I'm going to have you removed, Mr. McCarver. Okay, are there any other alderpersons' reports this evening?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
Ms. Clerk, are there any additions or corrections to tonight's agenda?
There are two modifications. Agenda item number 30 is a referral change to the Safety and Development Committee, and there is a supplemental item as noted on the supplemental agenda, number 39A.
Hearing those changes, I move for approval of the agenda as amended.
Second.
There's a motion. There is a second by Alderman Sangstock. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
I move for approval of the minutes of the Common Council regular meeting of June 4th, 2013.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Reinke. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item J on your agendas, I'll ask for a motion to place item number 2 on file and refer 3, 4, and 5 to the city attorney.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion by Alderman May and a second by Alderman Weigel. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We have no standing committee reports.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
I move that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meetings.
Second.
Motion and a second by Alderman Singsack. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are in recess.